There is a kind of silence that precedes every true creation. It is not the absence of thought, but the presence of coherence. The kind of coherence that arises when mind, body, and heart agree on one single truth, without needing to explain it. Many people believe that thinking positively is enough. They repeat affirmations. They visualize. They ask. But asking with words is not the same as vibrating with truth. The universe is not a bank that responds to mental requests. It is a field of resonance, constantly mirroring what you are, not what you say. Desire, when disconnected from emotional coherence, becomes static, like trying to send a message on a broken radio frequency. No matter how sincere the intention, if the body still carries fear, urgency, doubt, or shame, that desire will not translate into form. Neville Goddard spoke of the felt imagination, a state where the feeling of fulfillment becomes so real, so embodied, that the outer world must eventually conform. You do not attract what you want, he said. You attract what you feel to be. This isn't about pretending. It's not about performing peace. It's about becoming the emotional tone of what you wish to live. Imagine someone who says, "I am calm." But look closely, notice how their eyes scan the room, how their breath shortens, how their heart still rushes to protect. The body cannot lie. And the universe listens to that. Words are sound, but feeling is vibration. And vibration is the true language of creation. You don't manifest by wishing harder. You manifest by becoming a frequency the universe can recognize as home. When what you feel inside matches the reality you seek outside, the quantum field does not hesitate, it simply reflects. The true request is always silent, and always emotional. There is a kind of tension that lives beneath the surface of our desires. It's not always visible. It doesn't always speak, but it vibrates constantly. Your body is not just flesh and memory. It is a transmitter, a receiver, a quantum radio tuned to frequencies that often escape the mind's awareness. You may think you're ready for abundance, but your nervous system may still be wired for survival. You may want love, but your cells may still carry the vibration of betrayal, abandonment, or rejection. When the frequency of the body contradicts the vision of the mind, there is interference, and manifestation becomes distorted. We've been taught to focus on thoughts, but thoughts are not enough. It's not what you think about your reality that informs the field, it's what you feel in your bones when no one is watching. Unhealed traumas act like static. They interrupt the coherence needed to transmit a clear signal. The result is a reality that reflects both your desires and your hidden fears. Joe Dispenza teaches that every emotion stored in the body sends a signal to the quantum field. And that signal becomes your future. If your body is still locked in patterns of fear, shame, guilt, or tension, you are not manifesting from the present, you are manifesting from the past. The solution is not to reject the body, but to reintroduce it to safety. To show your nervous system that it's allowed to relax into receiving. Through breath. Through slow, conscious presence. Through visualizations that are not only imagined, but felt in muscle, heart, and breath. Synchronize the mind and the body, and you synchronize the message. And when the message becomes clear, the field responds. What you feel in silence is what the universe hears most. There is a kind of emptiness that doesn't scream. It doesn't beg for help. It simply exists, like a room once filled with music, now silent. Many people do everything right. They visualize. They meditate. They speak affirmations. And ainda assim, nada acontece. Not because they're wrong. Not because they're weak. But because they are emotionally numb. When the nervous system has spent too long in survival, it stops trusting pleasure. It stops trusting safety. It stops trusting the very sensation that makes creation possible. Feeling. There are those who try to manifest with their eyes closed and their hearts offline. They see the images. They repeat the words. But the frequency is flat. Because underneath the spiritual effort, there's a body that no longer knows how to feel alive. Neville never spoke of fantasy. He spoke of emotional saturation, of embodying the felt sense of what already is. But how do you feel abundance if you're disconnected from your own body? Emotional emptiness is not a failure. It's a survival strategy, one that kept many people safe when feeling too much became unbearable. But when it becomes a lifestyle, manifestation turns into a game of empty gestures. To reconnect, we don't force. We invite. Gently. Layer by layer. Visual. Somatic. Symbolic. See what you desire. Let your breath soften into it. Give it a texture, a sound, a rhythm. Let it enter your skin, not as a concept, but as a remembered truth. The goal is not to feel happy. The goal is to feel real. And reality begins where numbness ends. When emotion returns, so does life. And with it, the power to create again. There is a deep longing within the human heart to be reassured, to be told, somehow, that the desire we carry is not foolish, that the path we walk in silence is, in fact, real. So we look for signs. In numbers. In songs. In messages from the outside. And while some signs can carry genuine resonance, many are sought not from alignment, but from doubt. Waiting for proof before surrendering to belief is one of the most subtle forms of self-sabotage. It sounds spiritual. It even feels innocent. But beneath the surface, what we're truly saying is, I don't yet trust that it is already done. Neville Goddard taught that we must feel as if the thing desired is already true. And only then, from that assumption of inner reality, the outer world reorganizes to match the vibration we now inhabit. Sensation precedes manifestation, he would say. But sensation does not require proof. It creates the proof. When you seek a sign to feel safe in your belief, you invert the flow of creation. You make the outer world responsible for a truth that can only be born inside you. The true sign is never outside. It is the moment your body softens in the presence of the invisible. It's the stillness in your breath when you imagine the scene fulfilled. And it no longer feels distant, but familiar. No. There are stories of people who manifested love, healing, and abundance. Not when they found a sign, but when they stopped needing one. When they surrendered the obsession with when and re-entered the vibration of already. The quantum field responds to what you embody, not to what you question. The more you chase confirmation, the more you confirm the lack of belief. You are not here to be convinced. You are here to remember what it feels like to know, without reason, without evidence, without needing the sky to send a message. Because the sign you've been waiting for is the version of you who already lives as if the dream had arrived. There is an invisible request that echoes through your field, even when your voice is silent. It is not shaped by affirmations, nor by willpower. It is shaped by how you see yourself, not with your eyes, but with your vibration. Every belief about who you are lives not just in your mind, but in your cells, in your posture, in the way your heart opens, or doesn't. And the universe responds precisely to that tone. You may repeat mantras of abundance, but if your inner image is still clothed in lack, your energy whispers, I don't deserve this. And the field responds, not with judgment, but with reflection. There is no outer abundance that can override a frequency of self-rejection. No love, no success, no healing will feel sustainable if the image you hold within still vibrates scarcity. Bruce Lipton's work in epigenetics shows us that belief is biology. That inherited emotional programs shape not only how we feel, but how our very cells behave. You may be living inside a script that is not even yours, a lineage of silence, of trauma, of not enough, echoing across generations, now vibrating through you. But just as this imprint was absorbed, it can also be rewritten, not through forced thought but through felt truth. One way is through the mirror, not to observe, but to embody. Not to affirm what you wish, but to feel what you are becoming. To look into your own eyes, breathe with presence, and allow the vibration of worthiness to slowly take shape. In your muscles, in your breath, in your gaze. The universe is not testing you. It is simply reflecting back your own self-perception. Like a sacred mirror, it doesn't judge or distort. It amplifies what you radiate. And if you radiate shame, it returns silence. If you radiate wholeness, it returns form. What you truly believe yourself to be becomes the structure of the life you live. Creation is not an intellectual exercise. It is not something you perform from the neck up. Real manifestation happens when the body becomes the vessel of the future you already feel. Too often, people confuse visualizing with simply imagining. They see a picture in their mind and assume that's enough. But the field is not moved by mental images. It is moved by embodied resonance. What matters is not what you see, but how deeply you live inside that vision. To manifest is to become the scene, to breathe with it, to let the sounds of that reality echo through your nervous system, to feel the textures of that life as if they already live under your skin. Joe Dispenza speaks of the first breath of the new self, that moment when you inhale as if your future has already arrived, and every cell in your body shifts into agreement, not hope, not longing, agreement. This is the secret of sensory immersion. You don't just think the new life, you rehearse it, emotionally, physically, energetically. Imagine the feeling of walking through your home, not the one you currently see, but the one that lives in your vision. What do your feet feel on the floor? What does the light look like at the window? What is the scent in the air? The more detailed the inner landscape, the more stable the frequency becomes. But there is a warning here too. Do not remain a spectator of your own dream. Desire, when observed from a distance, turns into longing, and longing is a signal of lack. Instead, step into the memory of the future. Let your body become the actor that convinces the field it is already so. The quantum field doesn't respond to fantasy. It responds to felt familiarity. When you begin to feel as if your desired life is already your lived life, reality reorganizes, not because you forced it, but because you became energetically undeniable. There is a point where desire turns into tension, where what began as a sacred vision becomes a restless demand. It is not always visible on the surface, but the field can feel it. Wanting, when rooted in alignment, is soft. It breathes with grace. It moves without rush. But when desire becomes saturated with urgency, it begins to unravel the very frequency it once carried. Control is subtle. It often hides under the language of faith. Phrases like, "I'm manifesting," or "I'm aligned," spoken not from stillness, but from fear of what might not arrive. When you try to force timing, force signs, force outcomes, you send a vibration of mistrust into the field. You announce, without words, "I don't believe it's already mine." And the quantum field, in its perfect neutrality, responds to that frequency. Not as punishment, but as reflection. There is a kind of surrender that is not passive, but powerful. It does not mean giving up. It means becoming so stable in your vibration that you no longer need confirmation. The paradox is this: the more you trust, the less you chase. And the less you chase, the more magnetized you become. Neville Goddard taught that the feeling of the wish fulfilled must come first. It must be so alive inside you that the outer world becomes secondary. If you are still needing the desire to arrive in order to feel peace, you are not yet in the state. Picture a gardener. He plants the seed, waters the soil, and then he lets it be. He doesn't pull the roots to check their progress. He trusts the process that unfolds beneath the surface. You must learn to do the same with your vibration. Plant the frequency. Water it with feeling. But do not rush the unfolding. Control is noise. Faith is quiet. And quiet frequency creates clearer manifestations. There is a frequency that speaks more clearly to the field than any affirmation. It is not loud. It does not demand. But its resonance is undeniable. It is the vibration of love. Not romantic love, not external devotion, but the steady, cellular state of internal coherence. When the heart is open, when the breath is slow, when the nervous system is regulated and safe, your electromagnetic field expands. And with that expansion, the signal you emit becomes both clearer and stronger. The HeartMath Institute calls the heart a second brain. Not metaphorically, but physiologically. It sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to it. And those signals are not made of words. They are made of rhythm, of emotion, of vibration. When you enter a state of unconditional love, not directed toward someone else, but toward the life you desire, toward the scene you are rehearsing internally, the field reorganizes with astonishing precision. Because love does not ask, when. It does not beg. It simply knows. And in that knowing, it becomes magnetic. Imagine sitting in silence, placing your hand on your heart, and directing love not toward your past, not toward your pain, but toward the version of you who already lives your deepest vision. Not because you are pretending, but because your soul remembers. There are those who practice this vibrational devotion daily, not as a ritual of performance, but as a moment of return, a return to the frequency where all things begin. One woman, carrying grief and the ache of waiting, began to send silent waves of love to a reality she had not yet seen. Day after day, she did not ask. She did not chase. She simply became the state of what she wanted to receive. And one morning, quietly, it arrived. The heart does not manifest by force. It manifests by resonance. The universe does not respond to what you love in thought, but to what you love in vibration. There are moments in the spiritual journey when what seems like clarity is, in truth, a quiet panic dressed as purpose. The rituals, the mental rehearsals, they appear organized. They look intentional. But underneath, there is a vibration of pressure, of fear that nothing is working. This is when anxiety sneaks in through the back door, wearing the mask of manifestation. And it's difficult to notice, because it often hides behind phrases like, I need to visualize more. I need to align better. I need to stay focused. But true focus does not exhaust. It renews. True alignment does not tighten the chest. It expands the breath. When you are manifesting from anxiety, your energy becomes fragmented. Your thoughts race ahead of your frequency, and your frequency slips out of the present moment. The quantum field doesn't respond to frantic energy. It doesn't reward over-efforting. It mirrors your dominant state, and when that state is saturated with mental noise, creation stalls. There is a difference between vibrational focus and mental obsession. One is rooted in trust, the other in fear of lack. To notice the difference, observe your body after your practice. Do you feel spacious or drained? Do you walk away with a quiet certainty, or with a louder question, did I do it right? When your desire becomes a means to escape your current discomfort, the energy of urgency contaminates the signal. And instead of magnetizing the vision, you start chasing it endlessly. The invitation is not to stop wanting. It is to cleanse the wanting of desperation, to feel the desire without the static of fear behind it. Anxiety is not your enemy. It is simply a signal. You've left the heart and entered the mind alone. Return to the body. Return to the breath. And let silence become the space where your true intention lives. Before anything takes form in the outer world, it must first take root in the invisible, in the quiet stage of the inner self, where emotion becomes rehearsal, and rehearsal becomes vibration. Neville Goddard called this space the true birthplace of creation. Not the world of facts, but the realm of the imaginal. He taught that everything you now see, every object, every event, every connection, first began as a scene within someone's consciousness. But imagination, in his view, was never fantasy. It was embodiment, a sacred theater where the soul rehearses the ending it desires, until the body believes it already happened. When you imagine from the surface, nothing moves. But when you imagine with feeling, with breath, with the weight of the experience settled into your chest, you begin to leave energetic footprints in the field. This is the art of the final scene. To step into the closing act of your desire. To feel the completion, not as hope, but as memory. To sit inside the last moment of the story, and let your nervous system absorb the vibration of it being already done. This scene becomes a seed, and the field, in its wisdom, begins to organize reality around that vibration. Not through force, but through resonance. Because if the actor cannot feel the part, The audience remains unconvinced. And the universe, like that audience, responds only to authenticity. What you rehearse with sincerity, what you feel with depth, what you imagine with emotion, becomes your lived world. Let your inner theater be honest. Let it be alive. And let it be so rich in feeling that the external world has no choice but to follow. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to support the vibration of this channel. Like this video, share it with someone whose heart might need to hear this now. And if you feel called, leave a comment with the scene you're choosing to embody. Each gesture expands the field and brings us closer to remembering what has always been within. What you feel as real becomes the shape your world must take. Not because of magic, not because of chance, but because your body is a transmitter, and your beliefs, when felt consistently, become architecture. Bruce Lipton teaches that your emotional beliefs don't just influence your mind. They reprogram your cells, they sculpt your biology, they shift the electromagnetic signature your body sends into the field. Your subconscious does not respond to words. It responds to what you feel in silence, to what you embody when no one is watching, to the emotional truths you carry, not the ones you recite. When you begin to live from the feeling of the wish fulfilled, when you stop needing proof and start walking in the vibration of certainty, the field organizes itself around your inner structure. Reality does not resist what you've already accepted as true. It reflects it. It echoes your emotional assumptions, without judgment, without delay. The mind may say, "I want," but the soul whispers, "I already am." And that whisper, when it's felt deep in the body, is enough to realign the entire field. Let this be your remembering. You were never here to learn how to manifest. You were here to return to the state of already being, to rest in that vibration, to breathe from it, to walk with it, until the outer world has no option but to reflect your inner truth. Because in the end, you don't manifest from wishing. You manifest from becoming.